with the release of Apple's M2 new lineup, we are going to take a look at how we can get up and running with Expo in React Native. My name is James Maxfield, and I'm a software developer, and I just want to run through it. So this is going to be a pretty raw take here. To get started, you will need Node.js, so head on over to nodejs.org, download 18.3.0. This is recommended for most users. You can click the package and run through it. Right now, this is literally a brand new system. I just picked it up yesterday, so I just figured I would walk through the process with anyone that was interested to see how it works out. So downloading Node right now, that'll be our first bit in the process. Next, you can head over to reactnative.dev if you want to follow along with their instructions. We would go to their actual getting started sections and how to actually get all this set up here. So over here, getting components, the guides, and I believe they have the environment workflow set up right now. We'll be taking a look at the Expo Go quick setup. Let me zoom in real quick. The Expo Go quick startup. Interestingly enough, we can actually head over to Expo. They run a whole software suite to make it really easy to get up and running with your devices, whether you want to get up and running on an iOS emulator, Android emulator, or on one of your phones. This will help you get up and running with all that. And then finally, we'll need Android Studio for your Android device and Xcode in order to get up and running for on the actual Mac itself. So with Node installed, which was that little patink we just heard, if we head over to our terminal and I typed in node-v, we'll get 18.3, or you can type in npm-v. And there's the 19.3. So that's what we're currently up and running on. Over here, they're going to give us a couple of commands. Now, I personally use Yarn, but you're welcome to use npx. I'm a Yarn boy. If you want to add Yarn to your computer, Yarn install, they're just going to have you run one simple command here, which will be npm install yarn global. Just like so. And I already have it installed, which in this case, this actually gave me an e-access, which means you'd have to write sudo beforehand and then go ahead and put it in, at which point you'd have to put in the password for your computer. And now it's all set. One package installs. Now I can do yarn-v, and you'll see that I have 1.22.19. And I'm up and running with Yarn. So back over to the React Native documentation, I should just be able to create the Yarn Expo app for awesome project. So for me, I can hit ls to see I'm currently in my active directory over here. I'm gonna change to my desktop, so cd desktop, right? And currently, I swiped over here. I just got this one little folder over here because I was just testing stuff out. And you can go ahead, when you run this command, it's actually going to create a new folder over here, and it will be called, coincidentally, awesome project. And I'll go ahead and hit that and give that a little run. Now, while that is up and running and getting started, we will get the Android Studio stuff up and processed. So for our use case, this will be our Mac with the Intel chip. This will be good for either the M1 or M2 chip series. So we'll get that downloaded. It's about 1 gigabyte on the file over here, and it'll pop in, and we can actually go ahead and create the Android Studio or the Android emulator. For everyone else, it's like, hey, how do I get the iOS stuff up and running? We'll come over here. You will type in Xcode, and you can click, this will say install. This is usually a very large installation, so don't be surprised if this one takes a while. And while in the actual tutorial, we don't actually end up opening and using Xcode. That's not unless you want to do a project outside of Expo. But for your use case, you do want to have it installed. As you can see, I literally have no projects over here ready to go. But we can close that out right there. That's something you'll just need to install. We'll grab the Android Studio. It'll open up this nice little window. Click this, drag it into here. I did download this earlier, but I'll go ahead, come in fresh, and we'll actually do the replace. 2.46 gigabytes, and it's over in 5 seconds. That's actually astronomically quick as far as I'm concerned. Let me close that out. We've done Yarn. You've installed Node. And now we're off to now with Android Studios. We're done there. And we ran that, and as you can see, we got the awesome project now on our desktop. I will take this Android Studios and eject it out. That just clears it from my desktop. All right, let's open up the awesome project. You can use VS Code. That's what most people are using. I'll be using WebStorm. So let me drag this in over to WebStorm. It's just a different IDE. And with that populating, that'll bring us into the code base itself. Now, we could execute from this terminal over here. If I did ls to list all my directories, we could cd into that awesome project for change directory, and I could now do a yarn start over here. And as you can see, we got it up and running. It's being very nice. It's showing us the QR code. This is what you would use for your phone, and it would install the Expo app on your phone and then connect to your Metro server. And then if some people, like myself, I don't really like having this rogue terminal open. I like my editor to actually control my terminals. So in my case, I'll be over here. And in WebStorm, I can get the terminal over here, and I can do yarn start. And this is the exact same interface, right, with the QR code, the domains, and all that stuff. So now it's saying, hey, I can press A for Android, or I can press I for the iOS emulator. Let's get through the actual setup for, move to trash, the setup for Android Studio. Let me go Android Studio, right? Let's see in here, because it should now be in here. I thought we clicked and dragged it. Surely not. There's my app Grattles. Maybe I was going wicked too fast. Let's go back to Android Studio. Or actually, I've already downloaded it, right? It will be in the downloads under the Android Studio. Move that into applications. It said it was in there. I must just be blind. So sorry. Jump into the applications. Oh, Android Studio is right there. Boom. Open Android Studio right up. Looking good. Android Studio 2022 1.1. Alrighty. So you might have had a few click-throughs, if I recall correctly, where you'll be able to accept some terms of service, but the important bit is going to be over here for your creating your virtual device manager once you click through all their standard setup stuff. I'll jump into here, and I will delete the one that I have. And I'll hit create device. And now we get an option to pick between a bunch of different devices that we want to use. I'm a big fan of using the Pixel 4 because it has access to the Play Store, so I can actually go on to the Google Play Store and download other things that I may or may not need. So I'm going to go with the Pixel 4 in this case. You are welcome to use any of the others. I'm going to go ahead and click next. This is the fun part. This is where you can pick a bunch of different operating systems, Tiramisu right now being the latest and greatest. Now notice we are in the ARM64, this category right here. It's actually under recommended because the Android Studio has already detected that I'm on the M1 or M2 chip stack. So it will let me use, these will be the only ones that will be compatible on this device. But if you were on other devices, you come over here and you could download the x86, the x86_46s for any of the other operating systems if you're on a different MacBook. That would be how you set up. You'll just hover over one of these download buttons and click it. I got ahead in time and clicked the download button here on the Tiramisu because it does take a hot minute to get through the process. But once we're done, once you have that downloaded, I think you're gonna have to accept one more terms and conditions about the actual use case operating system from Google themselves. But with that out of the way, now you have the ability to label the device. Doesn't really matter what you call this. And we're just gonna go with all the default settings that we have here, and we'll just click finish. That will boot it up and create my virtual device. Now, anytime you want to get up and running with your Android developer, with your Android device, you just open up the Android Studio app and you go into Device Managers. In fact, I will rerun that for you, right? We would just be on this screen. We would hit More Actions, Virtual Device Manager, and we would hit the Play button, and that will begin launching our emulator as it appears right here. Now, something really fun, and this is a side tip a lot of people don't have, it's when they click over the window, the emulator itself will kind of disappear, and that is because I went into settings and I've hit emulator always on top. That will not be by default, and then it will just like keep disappearing. So pro tip, if you want to, if you don't have another screen but you need to keep this thing on top, go ahead, go into that settings and click always on top. So let me come over here, turn that bad boy back on, and we are up and running over here on the Android emulator. So now I can go ahead and I can hit A in the terminal, and now it says opening on Android. It'll have to install the Expo Go app. Will actually get added to my Pixel 4 emulator over here. And then once all that is done, this one will be synced up and ready to go. It just takes a minute. Ah, yes, the advantages of a new build. There it is. And in just a second, it'll give us like our welcome instructions. It's our first time opening it up, and it'll prompt us and tell us about which gestures are available and how to open up debug menus. Or not. I think so. There we go. Oh, yeah, there it is. Hello, friend. Yep, there it is. The first time opening Expo. That's what I was waiting for. How to get into some of these other features over here. But it's called Awesome Project, coincidentally, because that's what we ran in the console. And it says, open up that app.js to start working on your app. And in my case, I'll just double-click app.js, and I will come over here. And this is our classic Hello World. Woohoo! And the moment that saves up, it re-rendered over here. Now, at any point, sometimes you'll find that you just need to come over here and hit R, and then that will also reload the app with a little bit more aggression. That could be used to clear cache or something, or not cache, but clear data. If you were like in an input form, and you're like, I need to wipe everything out. But there you go. There's the Android side of things, and guess what? iOS is even easier. If I literally just click I, it'll just open up my iOS. And there are a few fun things. Yours might not open on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I'll show you actually how we can change which emulator here in a second. Because in Android, we have to actually like build it inside of the Android Studio. Is the easiest way to get a new device up and running. But over here, if we hit Shift-I, we get to actually then pick what device you want to be on, an iPad Air, 10th generation phone, iPad mini. So you'll get a bunch of different options to get started on that one. So with that, and hopefully I didn't like just terminate out of the iOS one while I was showing you all that. Oh, yeah, I think I just timed myself out by not like picking one of those. Let me just turn it back on. Yarn start, got it. I for iOS. There we go, running its build. And there we go. So now we have both of them. Now, because I restarted the server over here, you'll notice that this one has kind of like disconnected from the Metro server, in which case we would also then, we can just hit R, which I just ran the console over here, and that pulls them, that's going to reload that one. And now, let's click here, click my iOS emulator over here, and that one says Hello World. And my Android one looks good. Let me get them so I can see both my emulators simultaneously over here. And Hello World 2, right? And I'll save that. And I'm hoping, there we go, They both just rebundled and compiled. I didn't even need to reload the app. So that is everything I have to show you guys for getting up and running with Android and iOS. Hopefully that was pretty quick on the new MacBook M1s and M2s. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. And in the next one, we'll actually take a look at making this using Expo, where we'll take a deeper dive into how we actually set this up using the React Native CLI, so we can get a couple more options. Anyway, thanks so much.